Who are you, and what are you up to?
Okay, so my name's Taylor Rehmet. I'm running for the special election this November 4th for Senate District 9. I uh, I entered this race because, I'm passionate about a lot of issues, and I think Texas is kind of heading in the wrong direction. I mean, not kind of, it is. More than anything, I'm worried about working Texans because our economy in general is terrible. And I really think that if we introduce some legislation and invest it in working Texans, it'll pay us dividends for the entire state. I mean, you look at like vocational programs and then investing in our underfunded, schools.
Mhm.
I mean, this stuff should be at the forefront of what we're trying to do here in Texas. There's a lot of other things. Obviously, I'm pro union. There's a right to work state. I'd love to end that. Um, that would help union funding be able to represent. Therefore, that would translate into having more representation for working Texans, right? And you'd have the ease of people being able to unionize in Texas because we all know that the unions created the middle class here in America. And Texas is one of the lowest union dense states. And anyway, it's just something I'd like to work on, among many other things.
In terms of timing on that, on the union thing, is
Uh-huh.
there anything about like the period of history in or where we are in Texas about why would it be important to start talking about and working on now?
Oh, good question. So why now? Um, I believe that, you know, speaking from my direct personal experience, when I'm on the shop floor and I see someone, that I'm able to help, that's going through something, uh, words can't describe, how I feel, how much it brings me, meaning in life to help these people through something that they're going through. I've had members that have had like, problems with addiction that I've been able to get. Our union provides free addiction services. They will pick that person up out of the shop, deal with management, everything's cool, get them the treatment they need so they can get back to being effective working Texans. And I know that every state deals with, issues with addiction and stuff, and it brings people out of the workforce and, it steamrolls, it could leave them homeless. So in a sense, that's strengthening our working class. That's stopping people from going to be homeless, and I again, this is just one thing my union does among many. Um, our union is the first union to have veteran service officers paid for on staff to help our veteran dense union. We have a ton of veterans, and Texas is a veteran dense state. So again, that's going to help Texans. So you know these are, again, unions are nonprofit. These are things that we pay with, to help our members with dues dollars. So when you say why now, it's a great question because we can't afford to continue to be less and less, union dense because helping any working Texan is worth it. And I could go on. I mean, we need to get the vocational programs established. We need to work on affordable housing. We need to work on, a way to reduce property taxes. We are one of the highest states for property tax. And, I know plenty of people that they're fully ready to retire at 60 or, they've done their work. They've saved money, what they're supposed to do. They've been responsible citizens. And then they want to retire and then they're getting gouged by high property taxes. So again, there's so many things that need to be met with a sense of urgency.
Mhm.
And again, these are working Texans I'm trying to help.
Yeah. And it's good to hear a little bit of why. But in terms of you're just meeting somebody at Showdown, who are you, man? Like,
Okay, yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, let me go ahead and explain my background
yeah,
a little bit. That's
yeah. Who are you?
so I'm Taylor Ramet. I was born and raised in Garland, Texas, native born Texan, proudly, and I was going to college, right? And I realized, like, you know what? I want to work with my hands, and my cousin, he's in the Air Force, and he convinced me. He said, "Hey, I think you'd be much more happy doing something active in the military. And I said, you know what, you're right. So we drove down there together, and he, uh, was with me when I signed up, and they called me after about, maybe 4 months,
Mhm.
and I left college. I dropped out. I said, I'm doing this. When I do anything, it's 10 toes down. I'm ready. So I went and I served. I think I was 20 years old, and I served 4 years active duty, and I was honorably discharged in 2016, where I tried college again. I was like, you know what, maybe I'll, enjoy it. Wasn't the case. I joined, and I said, you know what, after a semester, I said, I got to go back. I got to go back to working on air. I really enjoyed working on airplanes. And
Yeah.
so I was lucky enough to get a job at Lockheed Martin. And, what's funny is I actually worked on the B-52 bomber when I was in the military.
Oh, wow.
I loved it. It was so much fun. I love that airplane. It's like, all the maintenance guys in the Air Force, it's like a thing where you love your first plane you work on. You have like a
Right.
certain passion for, and it rings true for me. So then, obviously now I worked on the oldest aircraft in service, and
Yeah.
now I'm working on the newest, which is the F-35 fighter jet,
Okay.
which is again, I love this one just as much, if I'm being honest. I always have a passion for aviation,
Mhm.
and probably always will. What's funny is my dad, he actually was an aircraft mechanic too. So if
Yeah.
you'd have told me I'd follow my dad's footsteps when I was a teenager, I'd say, no way. But here I am, being an aircraft mechanic just like my dad. Um, and so, and what's funny is actually his dad was in aviation. He was a communication navigation, I think, on bombers in World War II. So definitely come from a long lineage of people in aviation. So that's a bit about my background. I moved here in Fort Worth when I got that job at Lockheed, so I've been here since around 2018,
All right.
2019, and maybe even 2017. Anyway, so I fell in love with Fort Worth. I was originally over by the East Chase in I-30. Great area. I moved to downtown in a historic neighborhood, and I mean, I'll never leave. I mean, it's just one of the best neighborhoods I've ever been in. It is the best neighborhood I've ever been in, and it's quiet. Everyone knows everyone. Everyone's so friendly. So that's where I'm planting my roots.
Awesome. Well, I obviously love Fort Worth too, but I'm curious. I have my reasons for loving it. Part of that's music, part of it's just the cowboy. Also,
Oh yeah,
my granddad was a West Texas rancher.
yeah,
I grew up I didn't have the first pair of shoes, had a first pair of boots. So I'm curious. You grew up in Garland, right?
I did.
So that's part of you. You're a Texan anyway. But
True.
what do you love? Like since moving here, what like when you say you love Fort Worth, I
Sure.
can tell you mean it. What do you love about it?
So let me throw this in there. Actually, one of my first jobs was I worked on a horse ranch, so that was a lot of fun. It was out in Farmersville, believe it or not. So, but what I love about Fort Worth is you get this small town feel, and it has a huge population. It keeps that small town feel. I mean, there's a historic area. I'm obsessed with history, and Fort Worth has a ton of it. You look at Cowtown. I mean, you go there, and there's just so much history. When I said I live in a historic area, it's literally on the trail, Trinity Trail,
Okay.
that they would take the cattle. So, you know, just also the people are different in the best way. And I couldn't, if I'm being honest, I really didn't like living as a suburb of Dallas, but Dallas, and this is just such a unique feel to live here. I think, just the sense of community is much easier to come by. Why do you love it? If you don't mind me asking.
Well, so my granddad was a cowboy, a rancher cowboy. And I grew up in the mountains of Virginia, but I rode horses every day. And my first visit to Fort Worth, I was 13 years old. and we were coming out to visit a great aunt in West Texas, and we landed at DFW. And unlike seemingly everybody else, we stayed down like in the stockyards area, right? And like the first place I ate in Fort Worth was Star Cafe,
Oh wow.
and saw all the stuff in the stockyard. And I told my parents at 13 years old, living in the mountains of Virginia, right? No idea what I'm doing with my life, or how this is going to work. I said, I'm going to live in Fort Worth, Texas. And they're like, sure. So
That's funny.
that was a long, speaking of long-winded answers.
That's okay. I mean,
Um,
it's entertaining.
so back to who you
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
So you served in the Air Force,
I did.
and my organization is Clear Rule of Law, and
Yes.
it's focused on the rule of law, specifically as I understand it, or we understand it, from the Constitution of the United States. So I just want to ask, generally, what does the rule of law and the Constitution mean to you, like from a personal perspective?
From a personal perspective, I mean, I swore an oath to it, and I swore to defend it, and I think that oath never expires. Um, that that is something that I think about often. Um, there's only two oaths that I really think about. The one I swore to serve my country, that's the first one.
Mhm.
The second one was to serve my union, because I do serve and I help my members, and so a way I could do both of those things would be to, get elected and serve in a bigger role and give them all a better voice. And, you know, to do all this, we have to have laws that are respected and held sacred, which is not being done right now. And that is something that we have to get back. And I can't sit here and, I can give you, many different ways that would look like, right? I don't know how it's going to turn out. But, I believe we're in a constitutional crisis. I believe, there's authoritarian, regimes that are, taking power and trying and using any means necessary to hold, maintain their grip on that power. And, being someone who does respect the rule of law, all we can do is we can go in, we can try and, organize, mobilize, get the votes, and get the right people elected, Republican or Democrat. Get the right people elected. I'm not sitting here advocating for one side or the other, because at the end of the day, as I hate to say this, but as long as they respect the Constitution, we're good.
Yeah.
We're all Americans under that. That's what I care about, and I hold it sacred. I take it dead serious, and I wish all of our politicians in America did.
Yeah, and one thing I found in terms of explaining that to people,
Mhm.
there's an articulation that needs to be made about why certain things are important, and the current thing. There's two current things going on right now. One in Tarrant County that you just came from,
Sure.
and then one in Austin with the redistricting. Is what's the relationship between what's going on with polling places and district redistricting in the middle of the decade? Like, how does that relate to that? Because let's just assume. Let's back up. Let's assume they follow all the laws and they check all the boxes
Sure.
to close polling places in Tarrant County and to change the districts in the middle of the decade
Sure.
in Texas. That why does it? If they followed all the laws, how does it still impact the rule of law and our system of government for what's going on right now to happen?
So you're saying, like, how is it breaking the law?
Or how does it affect the rule of law if they technically follow the law?
So one of the interesting things about societies, right, is they change, and they can be changed. And the unfortunate side of power is when it can, power consolidates by the nature of things. And so power is currently consolidating. And so when power consolidates, it has the ability to really tip its finger on the scale. And I think that's what we're seeing. That being said, you can follow everything to the law and it still be wrong. It still be able to be challenged. I don't think that what they're doing is following the law. I think that if you're reducing polling locations, you're disenfranchising voters. Honestly, by the looks of it, and I'm just saying what I've seen. I don't know what the final thing is, but the first look, I could see black and brown communities affected. I could see seniors directly affected. I could see college students directly affected. And again, they're all Americans. They're all Americans that deserve a polling location near them.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of data to support that these are locations that there would at least be one voter. And I, of course, with saying how much it costs, it varies on each location. And, I like to be fiscally responsible, but at the same time, I'm not going to put a price on a voter. I will not. I don't think anyone should. You cannot put a price on freedom, okay? A lot of men and women have died for the freedoms afforded to us and the ability to vote. And, they're talking about, oh, well, it costs this much and we need to. Well, when they were doing they know they're going to be sued for the redistricting and they're going to use our tax dollars to pay for it. So they must not really care about, which they didn't have to do this redistricting in the first place. So not one thing does it, right?
Right.
But you can start painting a picture from all these things and you say, well, let's zoom out. Look at everything they're doing. Because if you add everything that they're doing up, they are attacking directly voters. They're being disenfranchised. And, let's just, give some grace here. Let's say they're not intentionally trying to be racist.
Right.
Doesn't make it not racist. I think that that is where we would have to say, I don't think they're following the law. I don't think, and here's an interesting thing. We do need to follow the law, but there's something we need to also realize, that being someone who's elected to represent, you're supposed to be above and beyond a great citizen and a steward of the citizens. And you have to look out for their best interest. So if you're reducing polling locations, and even if that location had one voter, I don't feel like you're serving the voting, populace. I think that you're affecting the democratic process. And I know that it's difficult. It's a difficult conversation that a lot of people may not see the attack that's happening, or may not really resonate with them. They might just, it's the economy, it's this, it's that. Well, it's going to affect everything, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we have to have people that are elected that want to increase voter turnout. Because again, it's just like me being a president of my local lodge union. I want more people to vote in our elections. I try and, say, hey, we need to, if I can increase voter turnout, I'm going to do it. And it's just sad to see, man. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah. Well, interesting that you mentioned something that too. One, I like your point about zooming in, like zooming out, right? Because you could take if the only thing going on that we were talking about right now was today's county commissioner meeting, and let's just say they're saying we got too many, we can make this more efficient and we can reduce the number of polling locations, save money, and there's some effort to make sure it doesn't affect people, that they still have adequate voting locations. And that's the only thing that was going on. It would be hard to be as passionate as I feel about it, and I see other people feeling about it.
Yeah.
When you zoom out and see there's also this and this, and you're like, when you look at it as a big picture, you start to see how
it's getting clear what's going on.
Yeah, the little things matter. And also, from my point of view, I really appreciate what you said about let's just assume, let's give them the grace.
Yeah,
that they're not intended to be racist.
Yeah.
But on the whole thing, if you look at it, you don't have to say, oh, there's this grand plan, and this person that's doing this one thing is evil because they're following a plan. Right? You could just say, hey, look at the constellation, and you look at everything that's going on. This is bad for the people. And I don't need to assume that if you were pushing it, I don't need to assume you're a bad guy for what you're doing. I can just say, hey, look, when you combine it with what's going on over
Yeah.
here, we're creating a universe where people don't feel like their vote matters.
Right.
And I just like to see if you had a take on that. In terms
I do.
like, why is
Yeah.
it important to for people to feel like their vote really does matter?
Yeah. One second, if you don't mind, I wanted to say one thing. You know, again, let's look at this like level-headed adults. Like let's not say scream racist, racist. Respectfully, if you were following through with this plan, and I come to you and I say, hey, Stephen, this I know that you were trying to do, and you were trying to watch it, you know, fiscally, and you were trying to. I see that, but dude, we can show you this is going to affect black and brown voters. This is going to disenfranchise some serious voters here. You know, this is wrong. And then you say, well, this is just for the fun. I mean, that's whenever you start to say, okay, maybe that person's actually following through with something diabolical, right? Because I don't want to jump and call someone racist, but whenever you repeatedly give them the, hey, maybe you were just not zoomed in on this, or maybe that was, you know, maybe it was something that someone didn't even present to you before, and now this is your first. But once presented with new information, as people who are governing,
Right.
we should be able to change our minds. We should say, you know what, that is messed up, and that looks bad.
Right.
And you know what, we've had that polling location before. We'll keep it. I think that we have to pay more attention to what politicians are doing and not what they're saying.
Yeah.
Because what they're saying is becoming useless. Because what they're doing is diabolical. And so, can you repeat your question one more time? I'm sorry, I just had to go back on
in
that.
terms of that and disenfranchising people, closing locations, taking them away from their representative that they have now in redistricting. Why is it important for people to feel like their vote matters? Now, I'll just back up to say, when I've encouraged people to, hey, go vote or whatever, what I get a lot is I don't feel like my vote counts. I don't feel like it matters.
Yeah.
Like, why is it important for people to feel like their voice and their vote matters?
Well, my initial thought is, you know, if someone tells me, hey, my vote doesn't matter, I said, well, with that attitude, it doesn't, you know? But at the end of the day, if you go vote, you did your civic duty. And that should be important to everybody. I mean, when I go and I vote, I think of a couple things. I think of all the people that died that allowed me to have this right. I think about all the people that never got a chance to do this. I think about the people that, you know, may not get that chance if I don't vote. And so, to me, and I haven't been the most active voter. This is something that, you know, I have, you know, increasingly started to, you know, believe since I got out of the military, you know, and I really got more active. I think that really doing the work as far as like reaching out to voters and just explaining the importance of voting, saying like, I know it, but it goes back to the fact of making it hard to vote, right? So yeah, I can see people feeling like, well, my polling location it went from 10 minutes away to 20 minutes away. There's people, you know, the economy's terrible right now. There's people that are working overtime and you know, missing sleep, and 20 minutes is the difference of them getting a meal or not, or, you know, getting a meal for them and cooking something for their kid. And so, you know, I think that, you know, I just heard that, you know, there's talk of, you know, trying to attack mail-in voting. That's crazy. I mean, well, that's insane.
Well, speaking of that, you're talking about the president posted on social media about that he wants to end mail-in voting. Right?
Oh, okay.
And that's the headlines up for everybody. But I read everything. I read to the bottom of the post, and to me, it was one of his most or least unhinged posts in terms of like emotional and like sloppy,
sure,
whatever. and one of the most, what I would use the word like diabolical or evil or like this is whoa, right?
Yeah.
So what stood out to me was the very end of the post where he said that the states conduct voting as agents of the federal government, and they must do as directed by the federal government, um, as determined by me, the President of the United States, for the good of the people. And I'm like, eh,
So
the
that
states must
so that's
do.
wrong.
So, what's your reaction to him saying that the states have to do as directed by the president on elections?
Um, well, seeing as how literally we have local officials that are deal with elections, I mean, that seems wrong to me. I think that every state conducts their elections. Am I not right? I mean, I don't understand. Why would he even say that? I mean, my reaction, oh, I'm not surprised that he would say something like that, but I just, again, goes back to that power grab. He wants to influence every single election in the worst way. Redistricting, right? It's blatant in your face. And any attack to control the elections is an attack on democracy. And I it's really sad to see the president post something like that. Very sad to see him post something like that, and that also is diabolical. So that right there, to even because he influences people, right? I mean, people take every word he says as the gospel. Um, I don't think you should do that for any president, but for him to put that out there, I think that is laying the groundwork to influence the 2026 election. That's my opinion.
Yeah, speaking of that, most people, including me, who should know, until a couple of weeks ago, I didn't know we had an election here, right?
Mm-hmm.
I knew there would be something on the ballot and constitutional amendments, which are
Sure.
important, but I didn't know there would be an election. And I guess nobody knew until I guess June or so, when Senator Hancock, right? Senator Hancock got
Yep.
appointed to be comptroller.
I believe that was June 30th. He
Yeah.
vacated the seat. Yeah.
Yeah. So now we have this election in Texas, which part of what I hope to do, if nothing else, is to raise awareness to most people I know do not know that, not only don't know your name or the name of anybody else running, they don't know there's an election this fall. Everybody's focused on midterms from what I see, right?
Absolutely. Everybody.
Republican, MAGA,
Yeah.
all the way to super hardcore Democrat.
Yeah.
They're just saying, everything they say is midterms, and I'm like, hey, we got things going on now.
Yeah, we got a little something before then.
In terms of this, tell us where is Senate District 9, and why is this Senate election important in your view?
Yeah, okay. So the Senate District 9 is if downtown Fort Worth's right here, it's cut down, middle, and then it has a little bit lower, and then it goes all the way and incorporates, I think, a little bit of Colleyville, North Richmond Hills, Keller, and it goes all the way, it wraps around to the north, far northwest, all the way down, and encompasses a lot of white settlement. So it's north half of Tarrant, which a little more emphasis on going west a little bit. So it's huge. And I'm sorry, what was the other part of that question?
Oh, so that's the district. Why is this special election
Why is it important? Yeah. So it's important for a lot of reasons. I mean, you look at, I don't feel like any one party should have a super majority, a bunch of power. I feel like it takes two to tango, right? I mean, we should have a conflict of ideas, and whenever one party has too much power, as well as I do, it can lead to bad things. And we're seeing that. We have a Democratic legislature who's imprisoned in the Capitol right now. I mean, just terrible stuff's happening. And I guarantee you they wouldn't be doing this if there was a slimmer majority. I guarantee you. There's no way. And so what we're seeing is an attack on democracy. If you're attacking legislators, you're attacking democracy. I can't see it any other way.
Yeah.
And if you're restricting their freedom, anything, if you're coercing them in any fashion, that's authoritarianism. So there's 31 senators in the Texas Senate. I believe last I saw there's 12 Democratic, one vacancy, and I believe that vacancy is the one we're going for, right? So Senate District 9. So it would cut into their, their supermajority, or is it majority? Because I don't know how some it would, or what it would be to consider. I think it's 2/3 for a supermajority, but we would be, getting back to a normal balance of Democrat Republican, which I think Texas absolutely needs. I mean, we could start arguing much better for both sides of our constituents, right?
Right.
And again, I want to represent everyone. I want to be able to help everyone. That means even people that don't agree with me. That means if you're a Republican, I still want to hear you. I want to hear your voice. And there may be issues I might vote your way. It just depends on what's being put in front in legislation. But at the end of the day, I'm here for working Texans, and I know there's a lot of Republican working Texans, and I would love and be honored to help them.
Yeah, and I think it's important to realize is, and from my view, people look at a Republican or Democrat, whatever, and they have some allegiance there, maybe a strong allegiance, and to realize in the government we have, your representative is more than the whatever bill. Let's say it's a tax bill, right? Mm-hmm. It's more than whether they're voting for or against the tax bill. It's what they do when legislation is being cut and deals are being made. Do they look out for Fort Worth? Make sure Fort Worth is taken care of in that, appropriation or taxation.
Yes.
But also, when somebody has a problem, and they live in Fort Worth, there's two people they can call: their representative and their state senator, and say, I need help. And I think people looking at politics, it concerns me when I see people running like it's a celebrity type position.
Yes.
When it's really what you're signing up for is a bunch of constituent service.
You have to be a workhorse. Right. You have to be. Here's the thing. One of my favorite things that happens is when I have someone call me and it's one of my union members. They say, hey, I need help. Or, hey, can you help me with this question? Absolutely. And if I can't get them an answer right then off the top of my head, I said, let me get back with you. And I try and get back with them within 24 hours. I mean, this is basic stuff. And I don't feel any of my other opponents would be able to do that. Be able to, actually talk. Because, see, here's the thing. I see a lot of these politicians talk about the constituents, but I don't see them talking to the constituents. Because at the end of the day, that's all you need to do, is you need to listen and talk to them. And that right there, you're going to have some of the best representation you can get. And, you're right. Treating it as like a popularity contest or celebrity, whatever, it's far from it. It's serious work and it's service. And you have to be a true servant leader to do it.
One of the things you mentioned, I was thinking of two of them.
Mm-hmm.
Two things you mentioned. One was the effect of the rule of law on the economy. And I would just ask you, how does a breakdown of the rule of law, how is that bad for the economy?
Well, we're seeing it with tariffs. I mean, it's pretty clear to me that Congress has the power of tariffs. Am I wrong? That's like I've known that for years. And, we're paying the price of the tariffs here in Texas. And, I mean, that's something that I think is, I wouldn't dream of it. I wouldn't, it's a nightmare. And so when you break down the rule of law, it turns our economy into, I guess, a cash grab, really. I mean, hey, these contracts go to my buddies, and hey, but if they're not performing, how do we hold them accountable? They're your buddies. That's a huge conflict of interest and violation of the public trust, and you can't get that public trust back. So, I think that's a pretty clear way you can see that if you have too much power and you start breaking the rule of law, it directly affects our economy.
Why is it important to the people of Texas and the state of Texas to not have this THC outright ban on everything? Like, why, from a governance perspective and a
Sure.
population and a state of Texas perspective, why is not having this THC ban implemented?
So I I like to say, there's no better benefit than mutual benefit. And I think our economy can benefit from this. And there's the non-tangible effect of the people who live within our society can benefit from this. I know veterans with anxiety, PTSD, chronic pain, seniors with chronic pain, working folks, that use these products, therapeutically, in many different ways. And I think that if you ban it or restrict it, you're affecting them and you're affecting something we could tax and help our economy. And so you're talking about a multi-billion-dollar industry, right? And tens of thousands of jobs. I believe it's like something as high as 50,000 jobs right here in Texas. Rural farms, family farms are going to be affected. And I care about those working Texans. I care about all working Texans. And I question the morals and motivations of anyone that would want to restrict or ban this thing.
One of the things I'm concerned about, obviously, in a group, is the rule of law and loyalty to the Constitution. And one of the problems I see is that, and I've seen it from both parties,
Sure.
but in 2025, it's kind of, in my view, gone off the rails.
Okay.
In terms of people protecting their party or a politician of their party, as opposed to a bright line constitutional issue. We're not talking about some arcane case law, right? We're talking about Article 1, Amendment 1,
right?
Amendment 4, Amendment 5, 6, 10. And when I see that, I get concerned, like, well, if we let it be erased, it's just gone for everybody. Like, it could be affecting one group today, but once it's not there, it's just not there. What I would just bluntly ask you, if you're elected and you get reelected, you're there, and we start to see Democrats violate bright line constitutional issues, are you willing to commit to the voters of Senate District 9 that you will oppose your own party if necessary?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm not going to say what the Democratic Party will or won't do. I don't know. But I know for a fact that I'm running for the people in Senate District 9, and I will represent them if the Democrats do exactly what the Republicans are doing right now. I would be, again, this is something I think a lot of people can agree on. I'm not loyal to a party. I'm loyal to the people that elected me, to the taxpayers, to the rule of law. I'm loyal to, this isn't established far before me, and I think that we have to stick to that law because it's there for a reason. Okay, I'm not bigger than the law. The law is bigger than me, and I'll always remember that.
Yeah, and I just realized something else talking about the 2 oaths you've taken.
Yeah.
Well, if you end up being successful in this thing, there'll be a 3rd oath that you end up.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait. Yes, I want to take that oath.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to take the oath to my favorite state, and that would be a great honor.
Um, I guess, and I might as well ask the question. Another problem I've had over time
Okay.
is that I've seen that on different issues, I don't fit in either party, and I've had issues with both parties that they all seem to have their favorite amendments, and they like to selectively quote them, right?
Yeah.
For example, right now, you can see from certain Republicans and then others going along that they're not a big fan of due process, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, they live and die by the Second Amendment. And
Sure.
at the time, on the Democrat side, I see loyalty to the Second Amendment being cast as along with everything else. That I've actually seen it said that if you believe in the Second Amendment, then you're a white supremacist. And I'm like,
Wow.
no, I believe in all the Bill of Rights. And
Yeah.
how do you feel about the Second Amendment and just generally? But why do you think the Second Amendment is there, and what is the purpose of the Second Amendment, and how do you feel about it?
Well, I love that question. So the Second Amendment is extremely important to me. It's something I'm not looking to be involved with very much. I think it's good right where it's at. I have guns myself. Obviously, I think that the Second Amendment is important because that right there is what keeps our government in check. We have to have, our own guns for home defense to defend our country. I think every American should know that, right? That's what I believe. That's why I have guns. Is because again, I serve this country. I think if you're a great tax-paying, productive citizen, a patriot,
Mhm.
you would probably have guns.
Yeah.
It just kind of comes with the territory. So, again, the problem I have is I can't get into the weeds about it too much because at the end of the day, I want our fellow Texans to have a good wage so they can afford whatever they want.
Right.
Not maybe guns, right?
Right.
I mean, because if they beat you down where the economy's, oh yeah, we're not going to take your guns away, but the economy's so terrible, you have to sell your guns so that you can make ends meet.
Yeah.
That's the same way to take away your guns, and
Right.
I will do everything in my power to stop that.
Right.
So, again, I really am focusing on the working issues, and I think that we need to seriously look at that along with guns as well.
Well, thank you, Taylor.
Hey, thank you, appreciate it.
I hope you get to talk more.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
I'm going to invite your opponents. We'll see if they join us.
I hope they do.